The White House ends the year on defense as the president's social spending bill takes a crushing blow in the midst of Democratic infighting. Joining us now, Democratic Senator Ben Cardin of Maryland. Senator, welcome back to Fox News Sunday.
Mike, it's good to be with you. Thanks.
Majority Leader Chuck Schumer sent out a Dear Colleague letter this week in which he said there will be a vote on Build Back Better. And President Biden said he thinks there's still a possibility of getting the bill done. Senator, what's the path forward to actually getting the legislation passed as it is now when the math clearly isn't there?
Well, Mike, not only did the Majority Leader send a letter out, we also had a caucus this past week, last week, and there is unanimity in our caucus that we want to get a bill to the president, and we are working to see what that bill will contain. President Biden's directly involved in these negotiations. We need to deal with the affordability of child care because it affects our workforce and having workers available for our economy. We got to deal with the cost of higher education. We know working families have tax issues. We've got to extend certain tax provisions to help working families and families with children. There are things that need to get done that shouldn't be partisan. We should be able to get these issues worked out. We are prepared to move. We just need to make sure we have unanimity in our caucus, and that's what we're working on. And we will start on that next week when we return.
To your point, are Democrats open to scaling it back even more or passing various pieces as standalones, maybe attracting Senator Manchin or even some GOP on some of these issues?
Well, that's a strategy decision that's being negotiated. We are open to a way to reach the finish line. We want to make it as comprehensive as possible because the needs are just there. We recognize that families need help on affordability, and that's what this is about, making our economy affordable for families, and it will be fully paid for. That is very clear. We understand the risks of inflation, and we are committed to making sure that we really offset all expenses. So I think with those parameters, we want to see it as comprehensive as possible, but we need to make sure that we have the votes to pass it. So that means it'll be different than some of us would like to see.
Does scaling back the bill to win over moderates risk losing progressives in both the Senate and the House?
Well, we got to find that sweet spot. And I think as long as everyone's at the table as we're negotiating, I know President Biden has always included all parts of our caucus in these discussions. I think we can reach that sweet spot. Look, a lot of us are going to be disappointed, but we're not going to let perfection be the enemy of getting something done. So we need to get something done. I think we'll be pragmatic about it, but we want to make sure it deals with the issues that we're facing in our communities.
President Biden said in an interview with ABC News this week, quote, "The only thing standing between getting voting rights legislation passed and not getting passed is the filibuster. I support making an exception on voting rights of the filibuster." Majority Leader Chuck Schumer said the Senate would, quote, "consider changes to any rules which prevent us from debating and reaching final conclusion on important legislation." Senator, you've said in the past you'd be open to eliminating that, but because the votes to do that do not exist, you'd like to see bipartisan buy-in to reforming the rules. What's your position now?
Well, Mike, I've been in the Senate for 15 years, and what I would like to see us is return to how the Senate was operating when I first came to the United States Senate, and that is allow issues to come to the floor of the Senate so we can debate. We're supposed to be the greatest debating society institution in the world. We need to be able to debate issues, but we also need to make sure that the minority have an opportunity to offer amendments and get votes on their amendments. And at the end of the day, we should be voting up or down on legislation. That's what we need to do, is to reform the Senate rules so that it acts in its traditional historic sense. We're not doing that today. And I do hope we would have Republicans who would join us in this effort so that the Senate can restore the way that it should be considering legislation.
And of course, some folks favor changing the rules when they're in the majority, and then when they get to be in the minority, they don't care for it so much, right?
Well, Mike, I've been working both in the majority and minority with senators from both sides. We recognize that the Senate is broken as far as the way it operates, and we have to fix that. And yes, voting rights is a good example. There's no reason why we shouldn't be debating this issue on the floor of the United States Senate. It's a timely issue, and it needs the debate in the United States Senate. We should be voting on amendments, and we should allow the majority to rule on these votes on amendments. Let's have a real debate and let the Senate carry out his historic role. So I felt this way when we were in the minority, when I couldn't offer amendments. I feel this way in the majority when we can't get votes up or down. Let's listen to each other. Let's fix the Senate, and let's take up issues such as voting rights.
In that letter to colleagues this week, Senator Schumer seemingly took a shot at Senator Manchin, stating that every senator would have the, quote, opportunity to make their position known on the Senate floor, not just on television. Here's Manchin from an interview he did this week.
I'm from West Virginia. I'm not from where they're from, and they can just beat the living crap out of people and think they'll be submissive.
Senator Cardin, Senator Manchin is an elected official from the state of West Virginia, one of the reddest states in recent years. He's been in the U.S. Senate since 2010, and prior to that served as governor. Is it possible he has a point that some of the policies in Build Back Better just don't rate with his state?
And he certainly has expressed himself, and he's asking for a vote in the United States Senate. He's asking for us to take the issue up and vote on it. So, look, we all have our own views. We have our constituents. At the end of the day, I think Senator Manchin understands the importance of getting legislation to the president to deal with many of the issues that are in Build Back Better. He doesn't agree with all of them. So let's sit down and find that area where we all can come together for the sake of our country and all of our states, including West Virginia and Maryland. The citizens will benefit from that.
Charles Lane, who's part of our panel this week, wrote for the Washington Post a sort of all politics is local piece regarding Senator Manchin's announcement that he cannot support Build Back Better, basically pointing out that there are various parts of the legislation that may benefit other parts of the country, but what's in it for West Virginia? He then adds, at time, Manchin's motivations for resisting BBB have been portrayed as a mystery. The real mystery is why the White House and Senate Majority Leader Charles E. Schumer bet their political future on getting Manchin to vote for a bill such as this one. Is it possible West Virginia is quite different than New York, California, or even Maryland?
Well, each state has unique issues. I represent the people of Maryland. I can tell you that Chesapeake Bay is very important to our state. I think it's important to our entire country. So I'm sure that Joe Manchin has issues in West Virginia that he wants to see us pay attention to in Washington. That's what our job is. Our job is to represent the people of our state, but also to represent our nation. And I think we can come together on this. The affordable child care in every one of our 50 states have issues where parents have a hard time dealing with the cost of child care, and it's preventing some people from entering our workforce. Every state has a challenge on the cost of higher education. We need to deal with it as a nation. These are national issues that affect all of our states. So I hope we can find a spot. Certainly there are certain issues that are more important in some parts of our country than others, but that's what the Senate's about. Let's find that common spot that can help all of our states and help our country.
Leader Schumer may have been referring to Senator Manchin specifically in his letter, but Senator, what about all these other Democratic members who are up for re-election in 2022 who represent states with competitive races, moderate politics? Maggie Hassan of New Hampshire, Catherine Cortez Masto of Nevada, Mark Kelly of Arizona. Example, is it possible Manchin has been taking the heat for a number of your moderate colleagues?
I can tell you that every one of my colleagues in the Senate have strong views into what needs to be in Build Back Better, and they express themselves on these views. At the end of the day, we think the American people want to see the United States Senate act on these issues. They recognize we have challenges. They want to make sure that it's fully paid for, and we want to make sure it's fully paid for. We want to make sure that we deal with core issues. So whether we're on the ballot this cycle or not, it's in our political interests as well as the policies of this country to get this right. So to me, the worst outcome is inaction, getting nothing done. We got to get something done.
Several prominent Republicans, including Minority Leader Mitch McConnell and Senator John Cornyn of Texas, have been openly recruiting Manchin to switch parties. Manchin has said he hopes there's still room for him in the Democratic Party. Senator, is there still room for Manchin and other senators who represent states that may not support some of the progressive policies in that bill?
Oh, absolutely. The Democratic Party is proud of having a broad tent, as we say it. We have people with different views. And look, give Senator Schumer a lot of credit. We have a 50-50 Senate, as you know, and yet we've been able to keep unity among all 50 of the Democratic senators. We were able to pass the American Rescue Plan. We were able to deal with the borrowing cap, debt cap in our country. We were able to get a lot of things done. There's absolutely room in our party for Joe Manchin and Elizabeth Warren and everyone in between with different views, Bernie Sanders. We're very proud of our caucus and the fact that we have diversity in our caucus. Okay. And Joe Manchin is very much welcome in the Democratic Party.
Thank you, Senator Cardin. We appreciate you making time for us today.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.